For fairly understandable reasons, the vast majority of the vehicles in this series didn't get a huge amount of press coverage. That's kind of the point. They are these obscure, sometimes oddball or wacky vehicles, maybe production, maybe concept, maybe race car. But that's the point of the series, of course, to shed light on these vehicles. Then, though, you do get some which aren't quite as obscure, ones which are respected. They're just not as well known as some of their rivals, and this is a perfect example of that, because of course some of you guys will recall that a number of years ago this was actually featured on an episode of Top Gear. They took it around the track, Clarkson drove it in a circle and made himself vomit. It's one of the memorable points of the older Top Gear style format. Now, if you are completely unfamiliar with the P2, chances are you are probably still familiar with the name Prodrive. And the reason for that is because you'll see that decal written or stuck to a number of competition vehicles. You can sometimes see it on Subaru rally cars, or mini rally cars, or even the Ferrari 550 that raced in Le Mans with Colin McRae at the wheel. Because Prodrive is one of those companies, they're based in Britain, incidentally, they're very, very well respected. They set up these cars for competition and they win. I mean, they don't always win, of course, but they are very competitive machines, especially in the rally world. And that directly translates to this car, because the P2 is essentially what you could get if you took a Marcos TSO and combined it with a Subaru WRX STI. That's pretty much literally what it is. It's this tiny, quintessentially British idea of a sports car, super small, super compact, kind of quirky looking, and very rare, of course. In the case of this one, there is literally only one ever built. It's a prototype. But at the same time, it's a car which is incredibly capable. Now, to give you some idea of what this car can do, the engine is taken from an Impreza WRX STI and it's combined with the platform, interestingly, of another Subaru, but one which not many people in, say, England or America have heard of, and that is the Japanese market K car from Subaru called the R1. I personally like that car. It comes from the kidney grille Subaru era, which I actually like. I like some of those, like the Impreza of that shape, the B11S concept. Even the Tribeca, for instance, I think is a decent looking car. I know a lot of people hate it. But regardless, that's a one side. That is the platform. It's a K-car platform, which is a very interesting choice to go for. But for obvious reasons, super compact, relatively lightweight, gives you an interesting, well, platform to work from. When you combine that with that flat 4 turbocharged engine from the Impreza, well, you're pretty much guaranteed some decent performance, especially when it's putting out 345 horsepower and retains all-wheel drive. Now, contrary to what you might think looking at the car with the side intakes, the shape of the vehicle, it actually is front-engined, not mid, which is kind of a surprise given the shape, I will say. But it retains all-wheel drive, as I mentioned, and it also has something very interesting for a road car, which again has the roots in motorsport, rally especially, and that is anti-lag. Now, anti-lag, to any who know of it, is pretty cool. To put that into a road car is a rare thing, but when you do, it has some pretty amazing effects, because really simplified, anti-lag basically electronically gets the car to the prime RPM to launch off the line. And when combined, especially with all-wheel drive, it can have some incredible results. Now, the reason why it's not fitted to more road cars is basically because it's not exactly the most practical thing around for putting stress on the vehicle. It tends to break parts and to wear out parts much more quickly, for fairly obvious reasons. But for performance, it's fantastic. It's why rally cars can get off the line so quickly, despite having way less power than, say, a supercar would have to do that same kind of 0 to 60 time. And that bears true on this occasion as well, because the P2, with its 345 horsepower, can hit 60 as quickly as an SLR McLaren, which has almost double the power. 3.8 seconds. That's fantastic. That's easily capable of taking on the Marcos GT2, the TVR Sagaris. That's far quicker than the MG SVR, and a number of other British exotics like this. Now, it's not just acceleration though. The top speed is also fantastic. 175 miles per hour is again bang on up against the MGS VR X-Power. Again, very well placed. Really, really well placed, in fact, against many of its would-be rivals, but with the very unique take of having all-wheel drive, whereas all of those don't. They are much more traditional rear-wheel drive approaches to a sports car. They're raw, they're old school, they're professional driving cars. This one gives you a lot of help. Electronically, active split diffs in the mid and the rear, and of course, on Top Gear, Clarkson drove it round and round until he vomited. It was that good. The active mechanical gubbins, let's put it that way, that help the car to stay under control and to work in a way that eliminates understeer almost completely is pretty incredible watching that in action. And in fact, the capabilities that the P2 had could easily and clearly be seen around the Top Gear track itself when it did its lap. It beat the TVR Sagaris with a 124.3 lap. That's not shabby, not at all. The TVR Sagaris is no slouch. Now, the funny thing about all this is, given how great the car seems across the board, even with a projected price tag of between £40,000 and £50,000, which would have been fantastic, a great rival to those cars, oftentimes a lot cheaper than those cars, which tend to be more like 60, 70, 80 grand, and even up till today, that could have still rivaled stuff like the Porsche Caymans and various others. So why wasn't it built? Well, that's the weird thing, because as far as I can see and far as I can tell, there's not really any good reason. They just didn't. So this is one of the rarer occasions, and the unfortunate occasions really, and the more frustrating ones, where it wasn't a car that was killed by its own hubris, or failed in competition, or the factory burned down, or something like that, which does occasionally happen. This was more just an occasion like the Volkswagen Nardo, or the Peugeot 907, or various typically supercar concepts that just don't get made because the manufacturer changes their mind. And that's such a shame when that happens, because Prodrive had this as a fully developed car. It was ready to go, and then they just didn't. And it's such a strange choice to me not to do that. I mean, if the whole point was to build a car for publicity, to show what they could do, which is essentially what a lot of aftermarket cars like Tommy Kyras and Mines and various others do, then that would kind of make sense, but at the same time, Prodrive doesn't really give off that kind of vibe as a company. They come off as more of a professional competition company rather than an aftermarket tuner. So again, it doesn't really make that much sense as to why they would develop a car with no intention of actually building it. It's almost like a really horrible prank on the petrolhead community. Ultimately, though, it's an awesome little sports car, and regardless of whether or not they have produced it, would produce it, will produce it, which doubtless they never will, it is cool that it at least exists. It's a great example of what Prodrive is capable of in the road car sense, and it would have been a fantastic addition to the British sports car lineup, to the sports car lineup in general, and it would have been one that could genuinely take on supercars for a fraction of the price. But, unfortunately, it never had that chance, and so it definitely deserves a place in this very series. So if you enjoyed this episode and would like to check out more, of course, click through here at the end to see more episodes. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.